Do you suck at revision? Then I might have found an app that can help. It's called Librarium and is a combination of revision cards, the memory palace technique, and good old-fashioned puzzle solving, allowing you to unlock the otherwise hidden mysteries that the library holds. Make sure to subscribe if you like the content, as this video took me a lot longer to create than usual. This is mainly due to certain companies not allowing recording in 16:9 1080p by default. Not looking at anyone in particular. Meta. Anyway, I'm gonna let you get back to the video and I hope you enjoy. Let's begin by checking out some of the testimonials on their store page. Firstly, the Virtual Reality Times describes Librarium as one of the rare apps on the Oculus Store that caters to new ways of learning, whereas VentureBeat claims that it applies deep game theory principles in its design to inspire learners to return back to the application and continue their studies. These are both incredibly positive testimonials that speak to the main strengths Librarium offers. I personally can agree with the first statement, as I've never seen any app similar to this one. This takes a more hands-on approach to learning while still incorporating tried and tested methods such as the memory palace technique, which utilizes spatial memory in order to more effectively store information. One of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, is the companion app, which is completely free to download on iOS and Android, that allows you to make custom revision decks for use within the VR app. However, my one bugbear with this is that at the time of recording, there is currently no PC alternative. And it is incredibly difficult to emulate on programs like BlueStacks, although I have heard that down the line there are plans for the development of a web app. This will be an absolute godsend for people who tend to have a laptop on them more than a phone. Also, the main problem with revision on a phone is it's very likely that you're going to get distracted. A lot of people say put your phone in another room, hide your phone from yourself, but that can't be done here because you're using an app. Although, once the PC port comes through, this will just rectify that and we can completely strike that from the record. Although, to maintain a bit of self-control, you could use apps like Forest, and that will completely lock your phone down and only allow you to use certain apps, which is incredibly useful if you're trying to revise and have very little self-control. The app also has a huge community focus when it comes to revision decks, which is why I'd like to make a quick PSA. Your decks automatically start ticked on the box to share. So, just a quick reminder, if you want to keep your deck private, make sure to untick the box. Although, as I was saying before, the community decks are amazing as they allow you to learn something new or save you making cards of your own. Then you can jump right into your revision session and save some time. When you're creating a deck, there are 3 self-explanatory features that you will be familiar with if you've ever made a set of revision cards. These are the name of the card, description, and adding notes to your cards, which is a little bit extra on the side. Then there are more niche features such as curios, which are the object you will be trying to link your information to, and then finally, nested groups. These are extremely useful for remembering acronyms, but also I like to use them as a little extra level of organizing my information. To get into a nested group, what you're going to want to do in-game is hold the object up to your head and you will be transported into the room containing all of these other objects which have your information you set up. Although a slight drawback is the card limit for nested decks is 10. That'll be fine if you're just using it for acronyms and such. Although the card limit for the regular deck is 50, which again is rather generous. Although I can see a very little minority making absolutely beastly decks that could surpass that limit. One of the main strengths to Librarium is the puzzles that are locked behind a progression system to actually make you want to study. As you complete Fact Blaster questions, you will accumulate Gnosis. Think of this as a kind of currency in the game, and it can be used for one of 3 things. A reminder, which costs 1 Gnosis, this will basically replay the hint. Then there's a hint which costs 2 Gnosis. This will basically point you in the right direction to progressing in the story. Or there is the progress in the story for 3 Gnosis. This basically allows you to go on to the next puzzle and take a little break from revision to unlock another part of the library. Okay, so now time for the section where I'm going to go over the pros and cons really quickly, and then I'll give you the conclusion. Its first big advantage is it uses the memory palace technique, which can increase retention up to 200%, which is a pretty massive statistic. And then there's the option for specialist-made paid decks. So they also teamed up with Kaplan to do the MCAT off the top of my head. So that'd be an incredibly valuable asset to have in your collection, if you're doing the MCAT, obviously. And then there's one that's more for like people studying for exams, which is, I'm assuming, the main target audience of the app. That basically allows you to deal with exam pressure. That's a really good one. And then there is the other advantages, which we've gone through. You can create your own custom-made decks, which you can share with others. And then there's the sense of progression that just keeps you coming back, which isn't present in other revision apps like Anki, or actually, I'm not even going to start talking about Duolingo, because yeah. Also, something that I haven't touched on yet, but I'm very impressed by, is the rate at which they fix bugs after they get reported. Because I did some independent testing on the game for this review, and I found a few bugs, just a few, and they all seem to have been patched in the most recent update. Well, at least the major ones were. So, big props to them for that. Okay, so now time for the cons. I've talked over most of these, but there's one I haven't that I'd like to bring light to. First of all, deck limit of 50, done that. Currently no PC alternative, done that as well. But the main big one is currently being unable to sort decks into folders, so the Tome of Knowledge doesn't get as crowded. Because once you start getting a ton of decks in there, it becomes really crowded and a lot harder to keep everything organized. Overall, I believe Librarium is definitely an app you should invest in if conventional study methods don't work well for you, and would prefer to take a more gamified approach. Again, a lot of the disadvantages I had listed for this app are due to the fact it's so new. I believe it's like 1 or 2 months at the time of recording. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been very different from my usual guide content, so if you enjoyed, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give me some feedback on what I could have done better. Feel free to leave it in my comments, or, you know, join the Discord, link in the description. I'm trying to grow it a little bit. And that's it for this video. Goodbye.